My fault, y'all. Y'all supposed to see that. Start this again. It's Friday night. How y'all doing? How's everyone go? How's everything going? It's another night of the Infinity Equation podcast. I'm your host, Dante, aka Dr. Guzin, with my other co-host, who always hangs with me every Friday night, Mr. Tim, aka Disavow. How you doing, Tim?
Dante, Infinity Goons, what goes on, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Infinity Equation night. Very excited for this week. Very special guest here hanging out with us. We're going to talk all sorts of cool stuff. But as always, I want to start off by thanking all of you for being here and watching. We know you're busy. We know you got a lot going on, lots of stuff to watch, places to go. Whenever you're here hanging out with us, we appreciate it on the Infinity Equation podcast.
There you go. Well, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a good week. It's been a long week, so we'll just get into it. Tim, who's here with us tonight?
All right, Dante, before we get cracking with the podcast, let's see who's here hanging out in the chat tonight on their Friday evening. Mark Rose says, what's up? Dom Marchucciano is here. He is a channel member. Robert Diaz is here. He said it's time for some AOA action. Not tonight, unfortunately. I love me some Age of Apocalypse, but this is not the night for that. We'll get Dante going on another day about that. Don't you worry. Also a channel member, by the way. Bart here says, someone press play. We just did. And J Tree, he's tall and you can't
teach that.
Hey, put on, Dan. Another channel member. Happy Accident says, I'm in the house doing a dance. We got Bart. We got Greg in the house. Bart's chilling here with us. Pokey87 is here. Hey, Pokey. How you doing, man? We got the Soch in the house. What's going on, man? Is that an Outsiders reference? I'm curious.
Nah, it's a long story. It's a buddy of mine. He's a good friend.
I'm conditioned to see the Soch and not the sock. So Matt Logic is here. What's going on, man? OK Figure is also in the house. I think we're all caught up for now. Striden just jumped in. What's up, Striden? How you doing, man?
Well, welcome all of you. If you're new here, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. And if you like what you see and like what's happening and want to get a little more information before everybody else does, you can join the members channel as well. Sign up for that as well if you like to. So, it's a lot of options. A lot of options across the board what you like. But nonetheless, let's not delay this anymore. Let's welcome to the show the director of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Hero. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and now I feel like that giddy kid in school again. Like that kid coming home from school and just like, oh, it's one of my favorite shows is back on. I can just talk to somebody from one of my favorite shows, and I'm going to tear up and cry. Let's bring in Roy Burdine. How you doing, sir?
Hey, doing good. Glad to be here.
Glad that you're here with us. Yes. So great to have you here. Thank you again for joining us and hanging with us. It's this is a show that has grasped me, and I've watched it many of times on Blu-ray. Watched it many times on Disney Plus. So there's everywhere I can always watch it.
Yes.
But thank you for being here and hanging with us. We do appreciate it. So, Roy, for the people who are not familiar with you, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, primarily, I'm an animation director. So I've done a bunch of shows, and Ninja Turtles, the Avengers show, Ultimate Spider-Man. I did some shows at DreamWorks after Puss in Boots. I worked on She-Ra, the DreamWorks version. Right now I'm doing a primetime comedy. It's called Grimsburg. It's on Fox. It's like with John Hamm. It's like a lot of blood and guts. So that's fun. So I mainly do that. I did some comic books a long time ago, when I was first starting out. I got to draw like an issue of Web of Spider-Man, a fill-in issue, and I got to do like some other Spider-Man books where there were stories in there. And so that was kind of fun because that was actually what I thought I was going to grow up and do, was draw comics. But once I grew up, I realized, you don't make a lot of money making comics, number one, and there's not a lot of jobs in it either. It's a tough field. And so living out here, I knew a lot of guys that were in animation, and I saw that they were, making a good living. And so I got into it mainly for that, like, hey, it's a way to like take my artistic abilities, my art education, and put it towards something that can make me a living, and then I got into animation, still with the intention of like, hey, I'm still going to be a comic book artist, but I got to make a living. And then just kind of became the living. So it took over, I never really got back to doing the comics until just recently, like a few years ago. I started to get back into it, but just my own stuff,
Right. Yeah, I did see that. When I was first found you, I seen that you were, starting to do your own comics as well, which is awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Well, the thing is, like, this is like, if most guys you'll meet in animation, this is the case. There, we work in animation. We're all dreaming of being comic book artists in our heads, right? And so everybody's always, every guy you talk to, is working on his own comic. And I'm the same, for years I was trying to draw comics and stuff, but just too busy, and then a few years ago I decided, like, well, I still want to do comics. I don't really have the time, unfortunately, because like working in animation is not like a 9 to 5, 5-day a week job. It's like a 14-hour a day, 6 days a week job, sometimes 7 if things are really bad, and plus you're being an artist all day, so it's kind of hard to turn around and then apply your art. You've given everything, right? But
Right.
So I come up with the idea, well, why don't I could write, and then I could find some people that draw the comics for me, essentially, right? I'll act like the comic book writer and the company, essentially. And then I just wanted to make the whole, well, I have a friend that named Ed, and he did a comic. This I kind of saw him do this, and this inspired me, right? He did his own graphic novel, and he did the whole thing. It took like 3 or 4 years, just slowly, incrementally. He did the whole book, maybe 150 pages, published it himself. He got a lot of good reviews. He was selling it on his own. Eventually he got hooked up with Image, and he did a series. His next series he did for them, and then they just recently republished that book. The book was called Almighty. So
Yes, yeah.
I had seen him do that, right? And I was like, that's a good idea. Just do the whole thing, and then try and get it out there either on my own or sell it. I mean, or not sell it really, but find a publisher. So this is actually my goal. The stuff that I'm working on, even though I kind of serialize it on my own Substack, the goal is to like finish the book and then find a publisher. I'll publish it myself if I have to, but the problem with self-publishing is you're limited in like how much you can really promote it. Self-promotion is like really, really hard. So you need a company. I mean, ideal situations, you have a company that helps out with that. So so that's where I am with that stuff. It's more working in a writing capacity. I am doing one that I'm drawing, which finally, after quite a number of years, I'm about to print up just like my own, like a first issue, because I got 24 pages, and I'm gonna sell that. I'm gonna go to some cons and sell that.
Nice.
But so it's kind of, I look at it like I would like to get more into doing that, but I kind of have to earn my way back into that industry. So at this point, it's a little bit of a hobby.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations. I'm sure all that time put into the book, with that coming to fruition now, that's amazing. I did want to ask you, I noticed on your Instagram, your logo, your image over there is a sphere inside of a cube. Does that tie in with your comic stuff and your comic you're working on?
It's actually a symbol from my podcast. So one of the guys that I worked with was Sean Schimmel, and me and Sean worked on Ninja Turtles together. And while we were working on Ninja Turtles, I was the actual voice director, so like I would be in there directing the voice guys. And I mean, that's the most fun. Like you come in, you just have a blast, right? Like making jokes, doing the script. It's so much fun. I used to have so much fun with Sean that that I just became friends with him, you know. And I was like, hey, you want to? I was trying to make a film back then. I was like, you want to work on this film with me? And so we were doing that together, and never finished it. But I ended up moving. You know, the show ended, and I ended up moving back here. But we always wanted to do something together, you know. And then I enjoy, like, I listen to podcasts and all this stuff all the time because I'm working all day, right? And I just draw, so I have to have stuff to listen to. And so I just, you know, over time, I just got it in my head, like a sort of a version of a podcast I wanted to hear that I couldn't find anywhere, you know. So I thought, well, why don't I make one? That would be fun, you know. And then I asked Sean, like, hey, if I did a podcast, would you want to do it together, you know? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we teamed up and we did it, and so it's out there. The first season is 8 episodes, and all 8 are out. So you can find that on Apple, and you know, it's kind of like a metaphysical adventure story, you know, kind of like a guy who, like, the world gets invaded by aliens, but the aliens don't physically invade; they invade the minds of people, and then they're messing with people, right, making them do bad things. And so the spiritual forces of the world have created these guys called mind rakers, and Mind Raker is the name of the show. And the mind rakers go into people's minds that are affected by these alien beings, and they root them out, essentially, right? And so it's kind of like my feeling was like it's not outer space, it's inner space. You know, they travel inside, and then they meet on the plane of you know, that existence and battle. And
it's so funny you mentioned that it ties in with aliens. I don't want to go to a complete rabbit hole. I only have a short amount of time, but there's actually a former fighter pilot named Ryan Graves. You might want to look him up. He's kind of tied with the whole UFO UAP topic that's in the news a lot right now. He actually claims that he and all of his fellow pilots were seeing actual like UAPs, UFOs essentially, that resemble that sphere inside a cube. So there's something that, I don't know if you were familiar with that or not, but I was very curious if that's where you might have pulled that content.
No, I was already, like, putting out the show, and I had that imagery and everything, but I did see that, and I was like, whoa, hey, that's my
I know, it's so crazy. I asked Dante, I had said, is it okay if I ask a random questions? That's what I was curious about, if it was any influence. That's pretty cool that after the fact, that's something that actually could be real. So that's, maybe you're channeling into something subconsciously, you know?
Totally, yes.
That's awesome.
I've always been into UFOs and stuff, you know. Everyone is, right? It's just like a cool thought, like, what could this be?
I could talk the whole hour with you just about that. but yes, thank you for that. I was very curious to get that confirmed. So awesome. Thank you.
Real quick, Happy says, what's going on? Happy says, oh yeah, voice directing rocks. I had the pleasure of directing Kevin Conroy, rest in peace, Lance Hendrickson, and more. Oh yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's all the time that you spend in there just clowning around together. That's what makes it fun.
It's funny because when you say that, like, the story is that because we've had on the Lee Waltz from X-Men, the original X-Men anime series. We had Bo on for the new X-Men 97. So they talk about this stuff, like those kind of things as well. And it's just like, man, that sounds like a good time. Like, maybe I should be voice acting. And we also had Cal Dodd on, who does voice Wolverine. Like, he was so amazing. He's so amazing, nicest guy you could ever meet. But yeah, just a good time. It just sounds like it's fun when you're, you know, doing that in the booth. And you're just like, all right, just need to be angry or something.
yeah. Ninja Turtles, it was like it was before we really got into having, like, even directors that do separate episodes. So you had me directing every episode, right? So not only was I directing every episode, but I was overseeing the entire show. Wow. And then I was voice recording the actors. So that was a hard job.
It's a lot of hats you had to wear right there, the way it sounds.
But it was fun. Like, the way that voice directing works now, I don't much even deal with it, because when you go here in LA, I did that in New York, and, you know, it was at 4Kids, and 4Kids was a more kind of an independent studio. But, you know, here in LA, you work for these studios, they always have like a voice director that's their job. And so you go in and then you're sitting with the producer, and then you're kind of like third man back, right? It's the voice director, the producer, and then maybe if you want to say something, but you don't, you kind of say a lot less, right? And
Right.
we're so busy that it's even gotten to the point where I don't even go to reports anymore. You know, there's not really a point. You know, I did do a table read on Grimsburg because I wanted to see John Hamm.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I would too.
I can tell you something. I never had watched Mad Men. You know, I knew who he was. I just
Right.
didn't really watch anything much that he was in. I mean, Baby Driver, some things where he was like a character.
Mm-hmm.
And just the table read, I was like, damn, this guy is so cool. Like, he's so cool in real life and funny and snarky, like just like, you know, the character. I went and I watched Mad Men, you know, because I was like, damn, this guy is really cool. And so I had to watch the show, and then I was like, oh, no wonder, you know, he's like such a great actor, and he's just like all of that he puts forth. He exudes that in real life, you know, and that's just from being in there one time.
You know, speaking of it, like I actually in the same boat because I never really watched Mad Men either, but I've seen him in was it Black episodes of the one episode of Black Mirror, where he was supposed to be like I guess find out what the guy did, and then but he was like blocked from everybody's view because I guess nobody could see him. So yeah, I was like, man, I was like, John Hamm's really good. And then I've seen like a couple where he's done like a couple like episodes from different shows that he's been on. It's like, okay, yeah, it's like, all right, John Hamm's not that bad. He's pretty funny.
Lately, he's in a lot of stuff. We even do jokes about that on the show.
Well, the fact that he turned up in Top Gun Maverick, that was a perfect role for him in that. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen the movie, so I didn't know.
He's kind of the bad guy, like the jerk commanding officer.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, okay. All right, so Roy, we got asked the most burning question we want to know about Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It was one of our favorite shows, and we have to like find out why was this great show on the almost on the left, like it was getting to that level of like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It was so close. It was about to hit that point, and then it was just cut short in its prime.
Yeah. So that's really all boils down to Disney bought Marvel while we were doing the show. So the show started. I wasn't on, I didn't work on the first season. I came in the second season. So the show was put together by Ciro. This guy Ciro, I think it's Nieli. I've never met him. I mean, I'm familiar with his work because he generally develops like this really cool stuff, right? Like, look how Earth's Mightiest Hero looks. Just the style choice, right? Yep. That's mostly him because he also did. There was a Transformers show that he did around that time. Had a really cool look to it. And then after this, he went and did Ninja Turtles, the CGI one that came mid 2000s. Yeah. So, I've never met him, but he developed the show and he did the first season. And then another guy that was really, I learned was really pivotal was Josh Fine, who was the producer. And generally, so in animation, what you'll have like a supervising producer or director, and he's the person that's mostly about the art, right? The look of the show, the storyboards, all of that. And then you'll have a producer, and the producer is more like the writing, the person who handles all the writing, right? They hire the writers, they rewrite the scripts, they do. So Josh was that end. And those guys, developed the show. And the thing that I learned about Josh when I got there was, because he was still there, is that he just had like an encyclopedic knowledge of everything Marvel history, every character. Like, it was so much fun to talk to him because, he knew everything, right? So it was a lot of fun to talk to him. And so that's, I think, just from my experience with Josh, I think the reason you're getting like, oh, this is so really good and so Marvel and so pure to the original stories and the characters is because of Josh, that he really knew it so well. And so those guys did it. I guess the problem was, and I just, learned this kind of stuff secondhand when I came in, was that the show just the first season had run way over, it was delayed. I heard that, Ciro did not get along well with some of the people there. So they had a lot of issues. And so he ended up leaving the show after the first season was done. So they brought in Frank Parr to run the show. And then I came in and interviewed. I had never met Frank. And so thank goodness he hired me. and so then I was on the show. And so all of the directors from the first season were gone. So it was me, Boyd Kirkland, and then Steve Gordon. We were like an all new crew in the second season. But so what happens is, like, midway through the season, we hear about that news. Oh, Disney bought Marvel, which was really mind blowing at the time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I guess like I know when we were working on the show, one of the people that they would send that we would send the material to get response was Joe Quesada back at Marvel, which I believe he was still involved even after they took over. But so what happens there is Disney bought Marvel, and everyone at Marvel kind of got into a mindset of we've got to take everything over, right? Because we don't want Disney to sweep in and kind of take over, like start doing Disney Marvel stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then I guess that's how Jeff Loeb became put in charge. So, he immediately just kind of took everything over. Didn't super affect our show so much because the writers did change, and they changed like some of the stories. And I think like the first one I did that was affected was I think it was the one with the Red Skull. That's Code Red. So now you had new writers, and I don't know if it comes through in the show, but to me it felt kind of different. It wasn't quite as, I don't want to say good. It just was a little different. I think
I get you. I get you.
It's like a little bit of an edge that was missing, but it was good. I mean, it was fine, but it did change. They brought in new writers, and then they started really head up what was going to be, what the stories were going to be, and then they wrote the scripts. But other than that, it didn't really affect us directly too much. Where it really affected us was those guys. Our show was done at Film Roman, and those guys did not really want to have to work with us. They wanted to make their own Marvel studios, right? But they had already started developing a Spider-Man show. So there was, we already had a supervising director. He was there. He was developing the new Spider-Man show. And this was with the same people in terms of like owners and Marvel and stuff that had done Avengers, right? That were in control of that. So now nothing had been written. He was just doing drawings, developing the show, what it was going to be. I would have been really interested to see what that show was going to be, because I know he had drawings of Sentry, and I think,
wow,
how does Sentry fit into Spider-Man?
Yeah, I'm curious myself to see that.
Yeah, I never really asked him, but then they came in, and that new like Marvel like creative committee group of guys, which was it was Jeff Loeb. And then Bendis, I know Bendis was a part of that. You had Man of Action. They were a part of that. And so they came in and they just took over the Spider-Man show. And, it ended up even that guy that was developing it ended up leaving, and someone else took it over. And they completely changed the approach to the way that it was going to be done. And they developed that whole idea that we ended up doing, which was sort of like a more, they wanted to play it a little more kid friendly, I guess. So that's why it came out the way that it did, But that was the thing. So they wanted to basically make their own Avengers. I think that's what they had in their head, right? So they needed Earth's Mightiest Heroes to end, because then they could go create like a whole new. If the show completely ends and then it comes out and it has a new name and it's a whole new thing, then legally they could do that, right? So that's what they wanted to do. And you saw immediately they did go down the street and open up their own place, and they started the Avengers, the one that, what was it called? It was Avengers.
I think it was Assemble.
It was just Assemble. Yeah. It was very, very, very movie influenced, it felt like.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, definitely a shift in tone where you had that more comic book driven storyline and plot. It just seemed like they were like, let's make it connect to the movie as much as we can. Synergy, exactly. Right? They love synergy, right?
Yeah, they were trying to get the feel of the movies. And it was also like they were using the same style as had kind of been templated with Ultimate Spider-Man in terms of like the way that it's shot and the swish camera moves and all this kind of stuff. And so that's what they did. But the thing was, Avengers. No, I'm sorry. They canceled Avengers. They also wanted to get rid of Spider-Man, right? They couldn't do it because there was already a contract. So they had to do that show. So they developed it into Ultimate Spider-Man. So what happens to Spider-Man down the line is that's why you notice a few years later, there's this weird point where Ultimate Spider-Man ends for no apparent reason, because it was a really successful show, much to their chagrin, because it kept getting renewed and they just wanted it to die so that they could just not deal with Film Roman anymore. And so at some point they did end it, and then they created that new one, which was some weird thing where Peter's in like a special high school for like brilliant kids, and Doc Ock is a student. And I don't know, that I never really watched it. It looked fine art wise, but the approach was a little weird.
It seems like, again, like you mentioned, really trying to connect it to the kids, like give the kids feel like they're basically a character in the show. The school atmosphere, obviously, and it seems something along those lines, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that makes sense if you didn't just have a show,
right,
for years that was so set up a certain way, and then the very next season just try and come out with a completely different version.
Yep.
Which that I think that's why that show didn't do well, and it only lasted 1 or 2 seasons. But yeah, so that's really why Earth's Mightiest Heroes ended. They wanted to do their own.
I knew it. I had like it. It's wild. I had the strangest feelings. It's like we lost Earth's Mightiest Heroes because they wanted something that they could connect to the movies, and and
also more just it's a thing that happens in any kind of like TV film. It's change of management. When the new people come in, they don't want to continue something that someone else came up with. They want to do their own thing, and I've been involved in many productions where that happens.
They want to plant their own flag and sully forth in a different manner. So just in terms of the series ending, so when the final episode for season 2 was written and produced and everything for Avengers Assemble, which was a great send off, bringing in Galactus and all the other Avengers and things, when that was written and filmed and everything else, was that intended to be a series finale? Like they knew at that time the show was ending already?
I think so, yeah. And so that's why they wanted to throw everybody in it. And that episode was like crazy. So when you're working on these shows, especially in the kids stuff, I find, now that I'm doing primetime, you don't, as yourself, you don't have a lot of wiggle room to like create. Like they literally want you to like do what's in the script. Do not come up with anything on your own. You know, it's totally different. But in this sort of like kids action stuff, believe it or not, I always found that there was a lot of wiggle room to like be creative and add to the story, or not so much add to the story, but really dictate how the story happens. And to their credit, most of the writers, which, you know, like you say, like Christopher Yost, right?
Right.
He worked on Ninja Turtles, you know, like, so a lot of times you're working with a lot of the same people, and even the people in control, like they're actually really receptive to, like, if you're pitching good ideas, they're looking for good ideas. They roll with it, you know? So that one, man, I just remember when I got that script, it was all over the place. And so you can not change when you start to board a script. You can't change the dialogue, you know, and you can not really change the scene per se, but you can change like how things happen. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, they're generally really receptive to that. So the script for that Galactus thing was nuts. And that's the only time in my entire career, before I handed the show out to the board artist, I took the script and basically went through and I did kind of like a write over, explaining in you know, our terms, like storyboard terms, what it is we needed to see, because there was so much going on. And it was also a lot of it was in a big section of it was in a much bigger, like a different order. It happened in a different way. I don't know if you remember, but there's a speech, and he's giving the speech, and as he gives the speech, you kind of see all of the heralds like putting the thing together. You kind of see everything happening, and it wasn't written that way. It kind of like these things happened, and then he stood there and gave the speech. And we also are dealing with time. That's another thing, you know, like you have to cut the script down to be 22 minutes, you know, when you get into like a lot of times we board and the boards are far over that time, because if the script is really heavy, you know, then the board ends up being long. So that was one that was huge. So that was a way for me to condense, you know, some of the story into, like, it's still there, you still see it, but let's make it into this sort of a montage kind of thing that leads to all the heroes standing there, you know, at this inspirational speech, you know.
Finding a way to work all those characters in, it was amazing how it was so well woven, and they all had their side missions, obviously, just to give everybody their just desserts and their time on screen, you know, in the episode, but also showcasing the main team, as you did know it was going to be the final episode, so you don't want to detract from the main team just to kind of show off all the side characters. It was just very well handled, and I thought it came out great.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun because you had so many characters, you know.
Now, we were talking about this before we started. Now, we know one character you weren't able to use. Were there any other characters you wanted to try to fit into stories that they just said, nah, that character's off limits?
I don't necessarily remember any. I mean, like the one we spoke about earlier, Spider-Woman, that was the one that I mostly remember, and that was because we did the Secret Wars and or not the Secret Wars, but the Secret Invasion.
Right.
And in the comics, you know, she's important to that story because she's the queen, right? Yeah, they couldn't use her, so I think they ended up using Mockingbird, maybe. Don't remember.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So they had to swap her out, you know. But yeah, that happens a lot. But, yeah, that happens a lot with these kind of you know, things where certain characters you'd love to use, they don't have the rights, you know, especially at that time, because before Disney bought them, the rights were all over the place to a lot of stuff.
Right.
You know, I know when we did, I know there was a thing when we did Spider-Man where Marvel actually did not have the animation rights to Spider-Man. And then they reverted back. That's what it was. They had a contract with Sony and the animation part of it expired or something. That's why they jumped on Spider-Man immediately, because they were like, hey, we get him back for animation, so we need to do a show like right away. So that's why there was a big push, to do Spider-Man. And they, like I said, they already had somebody in there developing it even before it became Ultimate Spider-Man eventually.
Okay,
but,
that makes sense.
Yeah. I know Disney's gone in and kind of try to shore up the rights to as much of this stuff as they can in the intervening years, but
whole room of lawyers for that, right? Making sure all those deals remain in place, or if you have to use a certain character in a certain amount of time to retain those rights, get it out there, get it made. Can't even imagine keeping tabs on all that. A lot of legal minds.
Yeah, it's a shame that they don't have Spider-Man.
Yeah, which is because it brings me to, the reason why I asked that is because the one episode where they have Technovore invading Stark Tower, they bring up the X-Men, and we do see Wolverine like later on in an episode where he's like a sub Avenger, which was a great, like that was one of those great episodes. You just had like hey, you're the new Avengers. Like what? Like now,
Luke Cage, Danny Rand,
right?
The whole crew.
Spider-Man. Yeah,
back when they were the new Avengers, so they brought them into the show.
Yep, that was
so.
Perfect.
Was there a reason? Like, was there ever a story that you say like, hey, we maybe we can fit the X-Men here and into one of these episodes? Because I know like they fit the Guardians of the Galaxy and with the Korvac story, but was there ever an episode like, hey, we can go back and bring the X-Men in for an episode like we did the Guardians?
I never heard anything about the X-Men specifically. I mean, at the point when we were doing it, it was cool. We had Wolverine, we had Spider-Man. I was excited to do Spider-Man. I had this great episode where like Captain America and Spider-Man team up like in the sewers, and they fight the serpents. This is like heaven. Like when I was a little kid, if somebody told me you're going to grow up and make a cartoon about Captain America and Spider-Man fighting the Serpent Society, I would be like, that's no.
Right.
It was just so fun.
With that
like
episode,
I was saying earlier off camera too. The cool thing with the X-Men thing though too, that secret invasion board in the background, the Nick Fury board, it was cool to see some of the Easter egg characters that got dropped in there that weren't necessarily in the series. So we did see Beast's image on there. We saw Magneto's image on there. We saw Scarlet Witch on there. So it was cool. Just again, like, hey, yes, they're in the universe. We just haven't had them in an episode. So little things like that go a long way for fanboys like me to be like, that's cool. They're acknowledging it. If they didn't get to it, they acknowledged it.
Yeah, I did see something online that said that was their intention. If they're originally was in a third season to have the X-Men get involved, more feature them somehow. When we were working on it, I never heard anything about that.
I think it was awesome. There's one gentleman I felt his name is T.M. Perkins Ford, and I think he was like one of the artists on there. I guess
Thomas is actually on the show I'm on now, Grimsburg. We've worked together. We've worked together a lot over there. He designs everything.
Yeah, and he was showing us like awesome art. I was like, is this real? Like, were these real like characters that were going to show up later on in season 3? Like, this would have been like great. Like, season 3 would have been like sound like it's like fantastic because the way they built out Secret Invasion over the 2 seasons, it was like a slow, gradual build to it. I'm like, this is Secret Invasion. This is what it was all about, like in the comics. They didn't know. And you show Dr. Doom as a great character. You built him up as Dr. Doom. Like, the guy's like, there's nobody who can mess with me. I know more stuff than you do than what's going on. And I'm just, testing my theories out. Now get off my land. Like, that episode was great as well. Yeah. But just to see that story, like Secret Invasion, be built out over the 2 seasons was such an amazing.
Like the stories in the comics where they develop instead of just going like, oh, well, here we're going to do one episode that's going to just encapsulate the entire Secret Invasion. It's like, that's not as much fun.
And then they all were not in a row either, which I appreciated. There was that slow burn, which as a fan was somewhat frustrating because you knew where it was going if you were a comic reader, and I want to get there so bad, but it's about the journey, not the destination. So you would have a secret invasion themed episode, then you'd have a couple of episodes dealing with other topics, other plot points, but yet it's still all wove together. You're still getting something that was slowly leading you toward that direction. It was so well done. It was so great.
Yeah. Yeah, the writers were really, like I say, I think that had a lot to do with Josh's direction for the writing. That it was so authentic to the comics. And you rarely get that. Even if you have shows that have the characters from the comics in it, they're a little off. They're not quite right, and you do it so well. Yeah.
But even the tone of those episodes that you brought as the director, it brought it all together. I love the tone of the show. It just gave you the right mood watching it. And obviously that's coming right from you in those episodes, which is fantastic.
You want to know what's crazy? When we were doing that, Josh was 25 years old. I couldn't believe that. I was like, he's 25? Are you kidding me? He didn't look 25. I mean, he looked like if you look, he could be 35. When I found out he was 25, I just blew my mind. I'm like, he's really young, and he's a great writer, and he knows the Marvel stuff so well.
Right. That's and that's what I say. Like, that's Avengers all together was leading up to like a Justice League size show. Yeah. And that's why I hate that it was canceled so early, because Justice League, if you watch, like anybody, I don't know if you ever got a chance to watch it, and those who have watched it, Justice League kind of started building up, and it had those overarching stories that went over like the season. Like, hey, here's like the stuff is going on in the background, but they're still dealing with other stuff. And just built like great. It was built on great stories. And Avengers was heading towards that way. Like, man, this is a good character development. We're getting they're getting the characters right. Like, this is how the characters would act. This is how they would be. It was just a beautiful thing. And then you're just like, artwork's great, stories are dope.
Yeah, it's a dead end.
that was for the comic. That show was for the comic readers. That was for the ones who put all that time into reading the comics, and they're like, "That's my Avengers."
Yeah,
that's the Avengers
too,
I know.
Frank Parr, he also is like really knows the comics really well. I mean, Frank worked on Batman the Animated Series. He's one of the original directors of that, right? So he's like, to me, that show was what was the foundation for everything that we do. It's like, okay, that is how you do action adventure. Forget everything that came before. That's how you do it. To this day, I have like tons and tons of storyboards from the original episodes, PDFs and stuff. I still look at that stuff just to refresh, like that nice sense of like telling a good story, visually.
There's a really good coffee table book came out a few years ago by the Lee Walds, where it went into like a deep dive of the history of the X-Men animated series. I would love to see something like that from this show, from the Avengers, just storyboards and images and notes. And I mean, it's obviously a very big undertaking, but that would be such a cool thing to see and get access to all that history and that knowledge that went on with the show.
Yeah. The original X-Men show was one of the first shows that I worked on, the 90s version.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
In the last season, well, I did some revisions and stuff for the first year when I met those guys, but then I went on at that studio to work on Street Fighter. But in the last season, I went in, I was the character designer on the last season of the 90s X-Men show. And that was pretty fun. There was really interesting shows that we started to work on right after that they never got on the air. But one that is like super interesting is so when we finished X-Men, then we did Silver Surfer. So I worked on that.
Yes.
But
nice.
We were doing a Captain. So the same studio. This was Saban, right?
Right.
was doing a Captain America show.
Oh,
And Captain America's show had, first of all, I always thought it was really weird because they had a sort of like a big boss type villain, right? Who's like, you always see him and he's sending out the villains of the week, after the good guys. And it was Hitler. Because it was a period show. So it was actually taking place in the, and I was like, is that gonna fly? Like, can you?
Yeah. Wow.
You're gonna have Hitler on a cartoon?
Red Skull, Baron von Strucker. It was also in the background of the McFury board. He was on there, which was great. But yeah, I kind of feel like going right for that guy. It's ouch.
Yeah.
Needless to say,
I'm wondering.
Never made it on the air.
I'm curious if that I'm curious if that was like a spinoff. Like that's how they came up with the other Avengers show back in the day, where it didn't feature Cap and Iron Man and Thor as much. It was more of like Hawkeye, Hank Pym. I think Tiger was on there, Wonder Man.
I worked on that too. That's actually I want to say that's the first show I ever did a storyboard for.
Oh wow!
So I was doing designs for at that time probably Silver Surfer, and that show was being done there. And the guy who was the supervising director of that show, he was a really great guy, really good friend of mine, and I just asked like, hey man, I would love to do storyboards. Can I freelance some storyboards? And that's how I started doing storyboards. So I don't know what it's called, but there's an episode where something happens to Giant Man and he keeps growing. It gets bigger and bigger, and there's like a Thanksgiving Day parade. That was the first storyboard I really ever did. I did a huge chunk of that, just as a freelance side thing. And that's when I started to really get into storyboarding because people really liked what I did, and I had been told I worked on there's another gym, which is there's a Spider-Man show where I can't remember because it's like I get them confused. Like we had Ultimate Spider-Man. It's not extreme, but
Spectacular.
It was spectacular.
I wish I didn't get. So this is the one where Spider-Man goes to the planet that the Evolutionary made with all the little.
Oh yes. It wasn't Spider-Man 29. It was okay. I know this, and I can't think of it off the top of my head now.
Unlimited?
Because it was
Unlimited. That sounds right.
Unlimited. Yeah, Spider-Man Unlimited. Yes.
Yeah, I was working on that too, around that same time, and I did some boards on that one. But the guy who was the supervising director of the Unlimited show, he was the one that told me, he's like, because I was doing character designs. I'd come out of comics doing character designs. I had done Street Fighter, and then I did X-Men, and I was wondering, how many shows can you really design? Like, where is this going? And he told me, his name is Bill Minio. He told me, if you really, the thing we need in the business is storyboard people. If you're a good storyboard guy, you will always be working, And so then that piqued my interest. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to do storyboards then, And then I found I really loved it because when you're doing boards, even if you're just the board guy, well, those pages they give you to board, while you're boarding it, you're the director. You're deciding how this is going to be filmed, and that's really exciting,
Nice.
That's cool.
Before we let you go, we have just a couple more questions. So we'll kind of just go through these pretty quickly. From our other co-host who's not here tonight, unfortunately, he wanted to know: was there any ideas for having the West Coast Avengers show up?
I don't think so. I mean, I never heard anything about it.
Were there any ideas that you when you thought about the show, you were like, hey, Justice League kind of did this. Can we do like this? Or like any other shows that you worked on previously that you brought in those ideas from onto Avengers?
Avengers, I wasn't really very involved in like what it was they were going to do. More like I get a script and this is the episode you're directing. Here's the script. You know, there are shows where I have had that opportunity, especially Ninja Turtles. I had a lot of fun doing that because I got to work really closely with the producer and actually pitch ideas and say, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that," and he was like open-minded and used a lot of the stuff that I came up with. So it was really fun. But Avengers was more like, and it usually is like this, you're the director, you're doing this episode, and here's your script. So you're kind of hitting it at that point. Supervising director, he's involved in that aspect of like working with the writers. They talk about what shows they're going to do and all that. But as an episodic director, generally that's already been decided.
Okay. Also, since we do all of us mostly here collect action figures, is there anything that you collect that you really enjoy collecting?
Well, I mean, I used to collect tons and tons of things. Got to a point where, because when I was younger, they didn't really have many good toys, right? And then all of a sudden, in the mid to late 90s, there's this huge explosion of like, there's a toy of everything. And then, so eventually, I got to the point where it's like, well, I can't buy everything.
Yep. We all hit that wall eventually. You run out of space, or you run out of money, or one of the two.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a bunch. Unfortunately, you guys are on my desktop, so I can't aim the camera to. I have a bunch of toys right here, but so my son is really into Godzilla.
Oh, cool!
Which makes me so happy, right? Because he loves the old ones, he loves the new ones. So I've bought like 1 million Godzilla toys. My favorite are like the toys from like the 60s era, like I'm looking at King Caesar up here, Gigan. I've even got the Gargantuas, which I paid $100 a figure for each of the Gargantuas. It's one of my favorite movies.
Don't feel bad, because there's some of us who pay more for figures. Like I'll say this: when the Galactus Hasbro did the Galactus giant size Galactus, we paid more than $100.
Yeah, there's mine right behind me there. Everybody teases me. I still have an open mine. It's been like 2 years now. It just sits there, that giant box back there. it's amazing.
Such a good line. I'm gonna just grab one. You guys, I'm sure you know this. And I feel like they stopped making these. These are just the greatest things ever.
Oh yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Moon Knight, we got the Falcon. This is the greatest line, and it seemed like so many people were excited about it, and then it just disappeared from the shelves.
I think it'll make a comeback this year. It's just more of like kind of what to put in that line. What more can you put in that line?
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Stack them. I gotta make room on my wall back here. Yeah. A lot of fun.
Yeah. I've got a bunch of those. I love it. And I love they got the Gray Hulk.
Yeah.
They can go into that kind of detail.
Up here, I think I have the Green Hulk, the first wave up here. Yeah, they look cool. They look cool. The cards are well done. The art looks nice on them. They're appealing to the eye for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, these I don't open.
Yep, they stay in. Yeah, they stay in there.
Yeah, no. So I love it. I still get toys, and it's mainly my excuse is because now I have kids, and so it's not so big. I'm buying toys.
The toys are my kids. Like these, they don't have to feed them, but they just plastic pieces that sit there. Real quick, Greg says, when doing TMNT, did you ever go to Massachusetts where they were created? There's still famous pizza shops there that inspired the love of pizza for the Turtles.
I did not. We did that show with Peter Laird was in control of the Turtles at the time. So Lloyd Goldfine was the producer. And so he's, like I said, he's the one that handles like the writing and really overseeing like that aspect. So he would go up to Massachusetts where Peter lived, and every season before the season, and they would spend like a week just working together, deciding what stories they were going to do and all that. So he did, but I never did. I was just in the studio killing myself. cranking out an episode a week. I mean, it literally was like that.
The grind.
All right, and we'll get you out
Yeah.
here with just one last question, real quick. Just lost it that quick. Goodness. Let's see. I always talked about that. You know what? So there's a little bit of a rumor. Don't know how much of truth there is to it. That Avengers Earth's Mightiest Hero may make that. They're looking to bring that back.
Really?
There was. I don't know how much of it is true, but there was a little bit of a rumor that Disney's looking to bring back some of those. Well, I don't know if it's just Marvel or just Disney or both are looking to bring back like those kind of like older animations back to TV.
I haven't heard of it. I would love it. I especially would love it if I could work on it.
Well, we hope so too. Look, they pushed. We got X-Men back, so there's still hope.
They brought back X-Men, but it's like I would have loved to work on that again. Especially now because now I'm like a seasoned professional. When I worked on X-Men, I was like just starting out. I was like a little kid, just like drawing figures, designing characters. I got to design because a lot of the main ones were already designed because you're already in. I think it was the 4th or 5th season, right? So, but I got to do. Who's the little guy? Like he's a skinny. He has white, like he almost looks like a mime. Like he has white skin.
Caliban.
And then he became like a big muscle dude. Remember that?
Yep. Caliban. Yep, for sure. Yep. That was the episode with Apocalypse coming back, wasn't it? Fabian Cortez was in it, and
yeah. So I got to design that one. That's one of the ones I totally remember. It's one that really sticks out.
Oh wow!
Like to design him, it was fun.
Very nice.
One of our resident troublemakers, always here on the show, Bart asked, "Question: Are you animating a new intro for the Infinity Equation show?" Joking. No. He's a resident troublemaker. Always causing trouble somewhere. Well, Roy, thank you. We appreciate you hanging out with us. It's been very much of a pleasure. Enjoyable. It was great hearing stories. We got to have you back to hear some more stories because this is all exciting for me.
A million shows, so I can any other ones you're interested in, I can tell you about those too.
Oh yes, we're here for it. We are here for it.
We'll also have you back to talk about UAP and UFOs a little bit too. Maybe we'll cut that up a little bit.
I could do an hour on UFOs myself.
Crazy times. I would have thought when I was watching the X-Files as a kid that eventually they'd be having Senate hearings on UFOs. It's been a wild 3 years.
Real world, I know.
It's something else. Keep looking up.
What was it? I'm trying to think of that Simpsons episode where Leonard Nimoy left. He was like, yeah, and that little pizza face guy. He's like, keep reaching for the skies. But thank you, Roy. We appreciate it so much. This was such an awesome. We definitely have to have you back on and talk some more about everything, because you got some great stories. Like we had maybe be a good idea if you can get Thomas on with you too. Y'all can tell some stories.
Yes, totally. I'm sure I could. I see him. I don't see him because we work at home, so I see him on a screen just like I'm seeing you now.
Hey, Roy, can you tell our audience where to find you two online? All your socials, your Substack, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, everything is just under my name, Roy Burdine. So if you pop that in, I have a Substack. I'm serializing some of my own comics on there. My podcast, me and Sean, it's called Mindbreaker. You can find that. That's Apple, Spotify. That's everywhere. And I'm on Twitter and all that. It's just Roy Burdine. You can find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It'd be a great day. I think before you leave, we may have to get you on with Bo. See if we can get the Lee Walls back on. Get Larry on. And just have like a good old time.
I might be able to wrangle Sean for you. Sean Schimmel.
Wow.
Goku.
The Mount Rushmore of animation right there on one show.
Don't play with my feelings, Roy. Please don't play with my feelings.
Hey, you know what's crazy is my 7-year-old son is like in love with Dragon Ball Z, right? And it just was never my thing, you know, like I don't really watch that. I never was into it, but he got really into it. And so, but I've been friends with Sean for like 20 years, you know? So, his birthday last year, I had Sean call him and talk to him. And it was like having the real life Santa Claus call your kid on Christmas. You know what I mean? Like it was so funny. And what was funny is that my son was just like so calm, and he knows every detail about that show. And so he's just talking to Sean about that show on the level that like we're talking about Earth's Mightiest Heroes. You know,
Look,
it was the neatest thing to see.
I'm not even mad at I have much utmost respect for that, because we were like that when we were kids. Like when we first got introduced to Dragon Ball Z, it was like, oh my goodness, like what's this show? This show was awesome. And you're just like, next time on Dragon Ball Z, like no. Then you get older, you're like, why were the fights dragged out for so long? Go do your thing.
It was also cool because, like, you know, I got 3 kids and none of them care at all about any of the things that I work on. They don't watch my cartoons. They don't even want to hear about it. It's not on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber, so they don't care. So
you should have told me, like, look, kids, I'm going to be on YouTube tonight. They'll probably would have watched it. Like, all right, yeah, I see. Yeah,
I did tell them. Maybe they would be. But yeah, this is the only way I'll be able to get them to watch me do anything is to be on your show. But that's one reason I was excited that he was actually into like a TV show, and it happened to be Dragon Ball, you know, because I was able to get Sean to talk to him.
That, you know, hey, look, if Sean came on here, he'd probably just see me get up and run back and forth. I was like, I got like, hold on. I was like, I got to be right back because this is not real.
Well, we're doing the 2nd season right now. I'm working on that, so you know, I'm going to need to promote that when it comes out. So I might be hitting you up, say, hey, I can bring you Sean, and he'll do this.
We are here for it. Sorry, real quick, Robert, stop it. Nobody wants AOA comics. Okay, they're mad at me. Everybody gets mad at me because I don't like Age of Apocalypse comics. I didn't like the Age of Apocalypse storyline. It was not one of my favorites. It was just for me, it was like a bad time with Marvel.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not for me.
Didn't Joe Madera draw a lot of that one? Am I thinking of the right one?
I loved his art.
Yeah,
I loved Joe Madera's art. I was like, this is not for me.
It's one of my favorite art.
I think, didn't he do the character, what was it called? Ash? It was like a firefighter.
Oh, Ash was
I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, Joe Quesada did Ash.
Joe Quesada, okay. That was Joe Quesada.
No, he did Battle Chasers when he left.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I met him once. I met Joe Madera once. Nicest guy. He was just nice as, like, that was when Darksiders first came out on PS3, I think it was. That was one of his first video games he did. It was Darksider.
Yeah.
So nicest guy. And showed up one time to his table. He was like, all right, let's get this thing started. It's like, all right. Somebody who shows up one time. I love it.
Yeah, no, he's one of my favorite artists. He was the best.
Yes. Yeah.
He kind of dropped out
so
of
good.
doing much, you know, because I guess he got into video games.
Yeah, he started his own company. He did a Battle Chasers video game.
Yeah.
Which was I bought. It was very well done. I think it started on Kickstarter as well. But I enjoyed it. It was done very nicely. But yeah, I think Darksiders, once he dipped his hand into Darksiders, he was like, this is it. He's like, I love it.
Yeah. Well, those were cool characters.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, Roy. thank you for hanging with us. Everybody go check out Roy. It's been a pleasure again. Yes, we'll definitely have to have you back on just to talk, because this was amazing.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Very nice talking with you, man. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right, guys.
All right. See you. Have a good night.
Next weekend. Yep. See you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my heart is palpitating. As an old man, I didn't think I'd get this far in life. X-Men. Hold on. We've done almost like we've gotten X-Men. We've got Avengers. And maybe next Dragon Ball Z.
Very cool. Very cool. Great guy to talk to. Very, very friendly, very open. That was awesome.
Kid me? We'd be like, nah. You didn't talk to these people. There's no way you talked to people. Adult me would have to tell, like, yeah. Yes, we did. We lived that life. If I had to end this show like after this, I'm like, you know what? I did everything I wanted to do.
And he's into UFOs, UAPs. That was, I was excited to ask that question, Dante. And as soon as he said that, I was trying to not look too excited. At first, I was like, okay, it has nothing to do with it. And as soon as he started talking about UFOs and subconscious, I was like, dude, that's exactly what the thing is. Like, it's incredible. I hope you appreciate the restraint that I used. That I was like, I'm not going to take 25 minutes of an hour to ask him UFO questions when he's here. When we want to talk about Avengers, I've been trying to grow my restraint and apply it more often. So I used it in that scenario right there.
Bart says, love Darksiders. The game got me and my friends in trouble many times. How to get you all in trouble? The game was great. I did love the game. The game was awesome. Darksiders was such an amazing game. It just kind of fell off like when they started doing the other stories. It was like, all right, it's not what I expected. Dom says, you need the Batman people now. Look, yo, Dom, I would love to have Batman the animated series on, like anybody from there. But it just wouldn't feel right without Kevin Conroy like telling the stories of being Batman. Like having him and Mark Hamill, like just him telling those stories of voicing Batman for all those episodes. It's just like, it'd be great to have like everybody behind. It's just like, oh my goodness. That'd be another icing on top of the cake as well. Paul says, I'm enjoying your joy. Thank you.
Enjoy my joy.
Grace says, now for Dante's best news of the week, McFarlane Ice Batman. Look, man. Look, kill the dinosaurs. The Ice Age. Paul says, F that ice crap. Bart says, we may or may not have went AWOL a few times to hit the arcade. Gotcha. Grace says, $70 Kyle Reiner pulls plus Kilowog, who looks really good. Happy says, my creative director worked on Darksiders. Oh, snap. There you go. See? Look. All comes full circle somewhere. That's awesome. Like I said, the first Darksiders I loved was great. That second one, the next ones after that just did not feel complete. There was just something off about them. All right, let's get into some toy news up here because I had not pulled up any toy news because I was too invested in last night where The Rock was slapping Cody Rhodes for some reason, and Cody was like, "I'll take it on chin," and then now The Rock's up here cussing at Triple H. You better fix it.
He got crazy pretty quick over there. There really wasn't a ton of news this week. No, I mean, obviously,
no, The Rock's just mad.
The Rock is mad. He knows what you're cooking, though. Look, but no, I mean, obviously, the big Marvel Legends news. For
as Cody said, yeah, but still, Cody said, "Y'all man haven't been cooking in years." There you go. They haven't been cooking in years, and I agree with Cody. All right. Let's talk about your Frostbite Batman from Fortnite. I just don't understand this. I truly did not understand this one. Because basically it's just a repaint of Batman. actually not even repaint. It's translucent Batman, and it doesn't look good.
No.
This figure looks ashy. This Batman looks like he needs lotion. Honestly, that's what this Batman. I'm look, being dead serious. This Batman looks like he needs some lotion. Like he's been out in the cold for too long. He's like, yo, give me some lotion. Alfred, I need lotion.
Yeah. I feel like this is just Toddy Mac being like, everybody's making translucent figures. I need to as well.
And the crazy part is like, if you look at it, it's not even really translucent. It's just like a frosted figure. That's basically it. And then you get this card for it that has nothing to do with the figure, but it says it's Frostbite edition.
At least you're getting a card. You got to get the card, man. So it makes the figure.
You know what this Batman looks like? What's those? What is those? I don't know why I was calling it Fortnite. This Frostbite. Sorry, I misspoke with that.
I thought you were just making fun of it. I was fine with it.
No, you know what? I'd rather it would probably look better as a Fortnite figure. Either way. What's those mints? I'm trying to think of like. Tim, you remember those mints? Not that I maybe thinking of Altoids, but they had like that powder coating, on there, and you pop that mint and it's still on your hand, like the coating.
I've drawn a blank on that one. Yeah, drawing a blank on that.
Maybe it is Alto. Maybe it's Altoids I'm thinking about. But there's one I can't remember the mints, but that's what it got. Andes, was it Andes? I don't know, Robert. I can't remember. But it's like there was like if it's out, I think maybe I'm thinking about Altoids, but I think it was like another mint out there. You take it out and like you get this like powder coating on your fingers. Like, yo, where did this come from? Like, why am I getting powder coating on my fingers? And that's what this Batman feels like. No, it wasn't icebreakers. It definitely wasn't icebreakers, John. I remember icebreakers, but it wasn't those. It was like one of those old people mints. It wasn't like it wasn't something cool. It was like the old folks mints. Never eat a mint called hemorrhoids. Why, Bart? What are you talking about, sir? You know what?
No
What's going on,
chewing.
How you doing?
What's up, no chewing?
No, it definitely was. It wasn't icebreakers. It wasn't icebreakers. And if this was an icebreaker, then you have like little speckles of like stuff in there. I would go with. But yeah, there you go. It's Toddy Mac at his finest again, doing what Toddy Mac does. Thanks, Johnny. Altoids is the only old people man I can think of. Thanks, Johnny. Mentos a fresh maker. No, Mentos was actually pretty good.
Yeah, those are the chewy ones, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mentos better. Mentos better. Mentos better.
Great commercials.
Mentos.
Great marketing. Great marketing.
They'd be like this, like, yeah, I got my Mentos in my hand. I just got my thumb up. When you think you're gonna be late for that interview, you pop that
Mentos, and all of a sudden,
you
teleport.
You could just do anything you want.
Here's the big one. This one got me all pumped up.
The VHS set of Daredevil versus Hydro Man.
Yeah, they got me here. They got me.
Yeah,
that picture right there. I saw that and I was like, I know I have this figured already. I need another. I love the cell shading. That picture, I saw that and I was like, I'll never get in that pose, but I need it in my collection now.
So we were talking about this on the Discord, and I was like, I understand what they were going with the cell shading, but I guess I have to have it in hand to see how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at like,
I'm curious
the way he looks on the show, I understand what they were trying to go for, which Toy Farts brought up a good point. you can kind of see what they were trying to go for, but then it's like, does it translate well into a figure form? Like even a close up of Hydra Man here, like I don't know what this is. Is this shirt? Is this a shirt?
I think it's it's just the Build-A-Figure, right? Except that it's just translucent plastic, right?
But if you look at like, hold on, let me zoom in a little bit. There's a design inside. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, and I had said too, I don't even have a Hydro Man in my collection. So like for me, you know, if people have Hydro Man, and obviously I have Daredevil, you know, might be an easy pass for some people, but for me, I love Daredevil. I love that buck. I do like the look of it. I mean, like you said, Dante, when it's in hand, we'll have a better idea. But I like black and red figures, and they look cool, and I just feel like it's a good look to it. What I've seen in the photos, so and you get the extra head, the new hands. So they're throwing some accessories in there too that you didn't get in that 3-pack, which is you know something to mention as well.
Yeah, I did see Art was saying that, and I was like, I pre-ordered it. I don't know if I may cancel it later on.
Mm-hmm.
This when I look at this Daredevil, it makes me think of like a more stylized something from the comics, like
for sure.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like NECA would do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's just such a great buck. I mean, what are we up? Maybe 4 or 5 figures on that buck right now.
Yeah.
So you have the Deadpool, you have the Daredevil, you have the Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, and I think I'm forgetting one. So there's probably you count on one hand how many are on that buck right now. So I think the one thing I would say though too is I'm excited for it. Plus I don't have any Spider-Man VHS, so it's kind of cool to get the packaging. But I feel like for the people who missed out on that 3-pack, which was a Pulse exclusive, they maybe should have put a Daredevil on this buck on a retro card or something going out to actual stores first before doing this. Now, granted, this is still up. It didn't sell out, but I think giving people an opportunity to get something in a store and not pay shipping and whatever else to get that figure they might have missed out on would have been a nice sign. But again, for me, I picked it up, and I'm happy to have a second one in my collection once it comes in.
I would have felt better with this, I think, with the purchase of it, if I could have like swapped out parts on Hydra Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because with the other figure that previously came out, it was just he had the arms that were half human, half water.
Mm-hmm.
This one's fully like supposed to like look like water. It'd be nice if you could swap out the arms. He came with swappable arms at the either the let's say like, or like you can like just swap out different pieces on him to make him look like he's in his human form but also in his water form as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would have felt a little bit better about purchasing the pack. I'm like, okay, that, and then with the extra hands for Daredevil, that would have been fine. That's great. But I don't know. Like I said, I did pre-order it, but I may cancel it later on. I just don't know. This one has me like, I'm on teeter on the fence of like, is this something I really need in my collection, or is it something I can pass on and still be fine with?
I'll be honest too. Another reason I picked it up, pre-ordered it, is that I honestly haven't bought much yet in Q1. I mean, here we are almost in mid-February, and I just bought Crystar. How do you say it? Crystar. I just grabbed that, and I really haven't bought much yet this year. And I was like, you know what? I've been behaving. I've been staying in my lane. Haven't really bought a lot of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'll grab it. And again, like you said, Dante, too, you could always cancel it, get down the road, should you see fit to it. But for me though, I don't know. It was something about it. It just, you know me, Dante. I'm cheap. I'm so cheap I squeak. And I was pretty much like convinced right away. I think that's something to do too with the fact the same day the new Daredevil TV show costume leaked. So like it was a Daredevil kind of day. So I did a live stream and I was like, you know what? It's a Daredevil kind of day. I'm pumped. I'm going to get this tomorrow. And I did.
I think also now that I look at this, and now I'm a little upset too still. It's just 2 different head sculpts. There's this kind of like angry face head sculpt,
Mhm.
and then there's plain head sculpt.
Yep. Yeah, you get the additional angry face. I guess it's I'm assuming it's the same. The other one's the same one that came with the 3-pack. I'm
Right.
assuming. Yeah. But I guess if you really wanted to, you could always, throw some alcohol on there and take the paint off the head and use this on the other one if you wanted to, and then just
Yeah.
use the base face for this one. Then you have the screaming one or the gritting teeth one to put on your original one from the 3-pack.
Yeah. You know what? Sorry, let me just bring this up. Both of them does bring up a good point. The lack of shading on DD's forearms and boots kills it for me. I think there's shading on the forearms. Let me just double check and see. But the boots, yeah, it's like the shading doesn't go down to the boots area. Yeah, and I can see and it stops almost midway on the forearm, which it's weird. That's a weird thing. That's a weird spot to stop at.
Yeah. With the cell shading too, we were saying in the comic books, he's always in the shadows. So I feel like even in the comics, you get a lot of shading on him as well. So I think you can really fudge it into a comic shelf. It's not just an animated look with that cell shading. Hey, Jay Girk.
Yeah. Hey, Jay. What's going on? The thing is about the more I look at this, it's it gives me that. It does give a comic book feel to it. I'm trying to think of the artist who it reminds me of. Almost like a Joe Quesada kind of look to it, shadowy style wise.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's what draws me to it because I really like that Bendis run, and the art for the Bendis run was very dark color to it. So I think that's one of the reasons why my eye went right to it, and it was who said Pokey had mentioned the shading. Yeah, I have some of the X-Men where I did not like the cell shading, like the Cyclops early on. But yeah, as far as this one goes, I feel like this is, again, I think you can squeak it in as a comic one too, and it's not just looks like it's. I don't think it's just there to be there. If that makes any sense, I feel like it looks okay right compared to forcing it on there just to say there's cell shading.
Yeah. Jager says, "What's going on? What's going on?" Yeah. And Pokey says, kind of looks like Carnage. Yeah, I can see that too. It does kind of look like Carnage as well. All right, so moving on. So it's I don't know. And then what was shown today, Tommy Front is back with his nonsense again. You know what? I'll admit, these don't look that bad. You got Kilowog and Kyle Reiner.
Kilowog's a big looking figure. A big chunk of plastic, from what I can tell.
He is. I still enjoy the one I got from Mattel. I still get, sorry, we're going real quick. I kind of agree with Dom on this one. A VHS Blade and Chameleon would have worked great, or a VHS Blade and Morbius.
I think we'll get the Chameleon. Perfect. I think we'll get the Chameleon. I don't think we'll get the Blade and the Morbius.
I feel like that would have been perfect. That would have been a perfect VHS set. I don't know how I feel like the offer. I don't know if it was just these two were characters in the show. I just feel like that would have been a better pairing.
Well, I think these two actually did fight in the show, right? This was with Mary Jane and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, this one made sense, but I think Dan Yoon put a tweet out or an X or whatever the hell you call it anymore. Put out a message that had basically said not all of the packs are going to make sense. It's not going to be all the packs are characters that were in the same show, the same episode. They could just be mishmashes. You can get a Chameleon with a Morbius or whatever, that they don't pair up necessarily. To just expect that. So if it seems that the theming is off, that's not their intent for all these 2-packs. That I guess there'll be 3 more this year. I think they said 4 total, maybe. So
yeah. Phone form says Chameleon is a must. I agree with you fully. Don says shame we won't get Punisher with the blue outfit. Ooh, yeah, that would be awesome. All right, going back to these Toddy Mac figures. Bart says looks like Kato from Green Hornet. He does look like Kato from Green Hornet.
Yeah, I can see it.
But it looks like he gave him like samurai armor as well to put on, which is, I'm like, okay, all right. Like Kilowog comes with a hammer and his lantern battery. Kyle Rayner comes with his last samurai armor and his katana and sword and his battery and an extra hand. One extra hand between the both of them.
Not feeling the hands.
We have a super chat. We have a super chat from my buddy from IE Creators. Steph, what's going on? It says, came to calm my Eddie McFarlane rage. Love you, brothers. Yeah, thank you, Steph. I appreciate it. I'm not raging today. I'm fine today. Hey, look, it's my buddy Ewan. It says, hey, everybody, I wanted to just stop by and say hi. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all well too, Ewan. Hey. Y'all can't. Hey, everybody came out. Yeah, this was a fun episode. It was a fun little night here. Yeah. Already. But big Kilowog. Like I said, Kilowog looks great. Conrad does kind of. It's. I don't know. He looks like he's trying to be like a Last Samurai from Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I can kind of see that too. Yeah.
So I don't know. Not bad. Kilowog looks like he actually has some articulation to him as a big character. But like I said, I'll stick with my Mattel one that I have. I understand this one has all that detail in it, but you know, my Kilowog will stand up without a stand. Plus, I feel like Mattel gave us a more well-rounded Green Lantern core as well too. So we got some other ones that Toddy hasn't even touched yet.
Todd doing Todd things.
Exactly. Greg says, "Wow, really needs more accessories." All right, look, talk to your boy Toddy Mac about that. Toddy, and that's a $70 2-pack. It's a $70 2-pack. So basically, you're paying for Kilowog.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's pricey.
Yeah. Phone says we'll have to wait for Kilowog to get re-released on the Todd's Gold Label Ultra Lighting Signature Series for $96. Oh, that's why. You know what? That I didn't see this either. It's an Amazon exclusive.
So at least you can get free shipping if you're a Prime member.
After just paying the $70, yeah, you should get some free shipping. Steph says I need Frosty Bats, Track Masters. Grace says watch Kilowog get a Gold Label single release for $59.99. I think that's what we're all thinking at this point. Ewan says doing pretty well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, Ewan. Glad you're doing good, man. Justin Collect says just put the little one to bed now. Time to watch some IE while doing dishes. Hope everyone's doing good today. Hope you're doing well as well. If you get a chance, Justin, go back and watch the first part of this episode. It was really fun. Some things surprised me. I almost had a heart attack. So yeah, you know, heart attack city. I'm about to have a heart attack just like after doing this show. It's like, yeah, like I'm done. I'm tired. They just say, hey, Sean Schemmel will be on with the show. I'm like, that's it. That's the last episode. We're done.
That's when you know to end it.
Yep. Went out on a high note. Went out on my own. Great. Done. Finito. Can't beat that.
Like Dante said, if you're just hopping on now, if you had something going on, definitely go back and rewatch. It was a great conversation. Got a lot of cool information about the Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. A lot of fun, and it's gonna make me want to go back and keep rewatching it. I watched about 3 episodes today that he directed, just so I can kind of have them fresh on mind, you know. But yeah, a lot of fun, and such a great show. Like we said earlier, such a great show. Taken too soon.
Avengers are so awesome.
Jay Girk, the collector that hopped in earlier, he's my coworker, and he and I bonded over it because we had just started, working together around that time, and had learned we were both comic book geeks, and like literally the two of us couldn't wait. I think it was Saturday morning it was on, or Sunday morning. It was Sunday mornings. Every Sunday morning we would like text messaging each other, waiting for it to come on, and like every commercial on the phone, talking to each other about like, oh snap, Doom's here, and like So yeah, it definitely brings back a lot of good memories.
There you go. See, the show it was so amazing. Like, and just because they wanted to do their own Avengers show, that's it.
That's Disney, man.
We all kind of knew it, but that was the reason why. That sucks.
Yeah, and that show was not good. I tried watching it, and they tied it in with everything. They tied it in with Guardians and Hulk. And I tried, and I just couldn't care. And I didn't bring this up when Roy was on with us because, needless to say, it wasn't his department. But the theme song's so damn good.
Y'all know.
I don't want to take up time talking about too much stuff that was just about the show, not relative to him. But yeah, man, the theme song, so good, so good.
But I noticed in the second season they did change it. They took the words out. They just kept the beat. They had the instrumental part, but it was like they had somebody talking over it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the full song. It was like standing on.
Now, foam. I would say foam formers. Don't go speaking blasphemy now, my friend. Don't go speaking blasphemy. I liked Earth Mightiest, but don't. We always say like what do you call it? Recency bias when you're looking at action figures. You say the best one of the year is the newest one you had. X-Men is still up here.
X-Men is still great. Yes.
Yeah.
I
X-Men
think
is a click above.
When we look at like older shows like X-Men, Spider-Man, Batman the Animated Series, as kids we go back and watch them as adults, like these like Batman Animated Series was really deep. You just didn't get it at that time when watching as a kid. Like you're like, okay, like this is a deep show. X-Men, it has some deep meanings in there. You just didn't really catch on to. Spider-Man, we always seen like with Spider-Man Animated Series, you always seen like Peter just trouble trying to balance work life and being Spider-Man as well. Like this man, like you knew it, but you really felt it. And it's just like I think each show had its own thing that you loved about it, which is great.
1 second, but Cap lives, but it didn't. That's the brutal reality. It didn't. So it's still.
I'm not even. No. This was killing me right here.
Wow, Bart.
I don't know how we're friends. Bart, how we're friends. I never seen Batman the Animated Series. One of the best Batman shows out there.
It's pretty much that and X-Men are here. That's I didn't watch Batman as often as I watched X-Men. I watched Batman later on, reruns and stuff. And I had a different appreciation for it because of the tone was so much darker than the X-Men in a lot of ways, in a good way, But yeah, I think when you're talking all time, super animated series, it's 1A, 1B, or same level, those two shows. I mean, and they were both on Fox, right? Which is insane.
Yeah, they were both on Fox, yeah. But that's when Fox was doing like it's like cartoon Saturday morning boom.
Yes.
But I think I really forgot about this. That Batman Animated Series actually premiered on a Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I always think Caps. I always forget about that. Caps Lives also brings a good point too. Like Superman the Animated Series was very well done too.
Yeah, that was good.
Now I won't say Superman was over Justice League. I do like Justice League. I think Justice League really delved into like what it was supposed to, like as a serious, cartoon. We're dealing with adult things. These are deep stories that you really have to find, like you're finding meaning in, especially with Batman. Like, and they just like, like Batman is kind of cold blooded. Like this dude really doesn't like. He's like, especially the episode when Superman died. He's like, he's not dead. It's okay to grieve. He's not dead. Leave me alone. I'm like, dang, like, yo. There's like, yo, Is he upset? But also with Justice League, you also got shot. They were able to show off other characters as well. Like you had Booster Gold, you had other characters that you never seen on a TV screen, or you would never think that would ever be in a live action, or excuse me, in a cartoon at all.
All right. Well, it's like you said earlier, like that's the level Earth's Mightiest was getting to in terms of the catalog of characters. You know, I think the storytelling was just as good, but I think that catalog of characters was almost getting to that Justice League area where there were so many other supporting characters and people on the show. Like they had said, there's that rumor that season 3 would have brought the X-Men in, the X-Men proper, the rest of the team, not just, Wolverine. So, yeah, that's a good comparison earlier on you made.
Yeah. I'll just go back a little bit here. Captain don't have a heart attack now. No, I can't have a heart attack. Not yet. Not yet. I got a couple more things to do, and then I can go ahead and be like, yeah, this is it. Gray says, Dante, you need to get Detour to stop teasing us with all the impending store stock. Hey, I can't. I'm sorry. And then Cap says, love EMH. Phone Form says EMH was better than X-Men. Personal preference, I'll say as that. Personal preference. Greg says, disavow texting during EMH. Are you sure you aren't lying about using AIM, YIM, or ICQ?
No, I'm pretty sure we were texting at that point. I'm pretty sure I had a BlackBerry.
Oh, man, I hate it. I used to love BlackBerry, then I hated it.
I held on as long as I could, then finally had to go to the iPhone. Which if I didn't go to the iPhone, I probably wouldn't have a YouTube channel. So it's a good thing I did it. I guess. Yeah.
Robert says Deadpool is the greatest Avenger of all time. Fight me. I'll meet you outside. Cap says EMH would have certainly surpassed X-Men if they kept going for 2 more seasons. I don't know. I wouldn't put it in the realm of X-Men. I think EMH would have been more on par with Justice League. I feel because that is more like X-Men was good for its time and it had good stories. But I feel like Earth's Mightiest would have been right up there with Justice League. If we were to continue on with the deep stories, the storytelling that it had, the overarching stories and that were going on in the background, that to me would have been on that level of Justice League. Like they would have been neck and neck. It would have been hard to say like, oh man, like Justice League was great for DC and then Avengers was great for Marvel. So you had the best teams that you had as 2 great cartoons, like finally getting the justice that deserved in cartoon form, not the formulaic Saturday morning, good times that we had kind of like cartoons, but it was deep storytelling that you be like, oh yeah, I remember reading. Yes, I remember this comic. I know what's going to happen. Oh man, wait till they get to this one part. It's going to be great if they do it. So I feel like both of them are like neck and neck for each other.
Yep.
Yeah. Robert says, boo that man. I'm not going to boo him. I don't understand how you never seen it. Cap says, I mean, they're all worse than Spectacular Spider-Man. So, you know what? I can't say that because I've only watched a couple episodes of Spectacular Spider-Man. I don't know why. It's hard for me to sit down and just sit there and watch it. And I'm not saying it's a bad show. It's just, I just have trouble sitting down and watching it. I can sit myself down and watching it. I agree with Stratton here. You need to treat yourself to Batman anime series after the stream. Yeah. Don says Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man was a Trinity. Yeah, Saturday mornings. That was what you needed.
Especially with the crossovers with Spider-Man and Batman. Sorry, Spider-Man, Batman. Spider-Man and X-Men, when they started doing the crossovers and stuff, was really cool.
It was just, like back then it was still so weird. Like they still couldn't use certain characters on there either. Phone Former says Superman over Batman anime series. Someone got in the Todd stash. Bart says Batman anime series was on when I was in active duty military. I was prying too much to watch it. I tried to catch a few episodes, but wasn't feeling it. I think it was the animation. Okay, then that makes a little more sense. I'm telling you, like, watch at the beginning. The animation is very well done. It's good. I'm just telling you, just watch it for the story, and then the animation. The animation will grow on you, but the stories are what's going to hook you in.
Mhm.
You're like, okay, like, yo, this is Batman. Like, all right, this is good. Because you see the dueling identity of like him being Bruce Wayne and then him being Batman.
When Batman's written the best, it's when Gotham City feels like a character, not a city.
Exactly.
And I think that show, Gotham was a character, not a city. Like to me, Gotham was a living thing on that show.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real good moment when you know somebody's writing Batman the right way.
And Batman Animated Series has some great music into it. Because I remember when the what was it? Christmas with the Joker. The music was off the chain. That one. There's another episode where it had a Joker and he had the robot henchman, and they were fighting on a trash truck. It was like dun 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 dun, bam 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 bam. I was like, yo, it's like that's a little that little beat. When Joker ran off one guy off the road and got his wallet and came back and needed him like years later, yo, that was a great episode too. Like there's a lot of great episodes with Batman Animated Series.
Yep, for sure.
Cap says the Cadmus arc and Justice League Limited is unmatched for the DCAU. Yes, that episode was great. That arc was a good story. I did enjoy that one. Don says Batman Braver Than Bold is underrated. I caught a few episodes of that. It didn't really connect to me.
I didn't watch it.
Robert says, Dante, my favorite line spoken in Batman Animated Series was spoken by Batman to Catwoman. He said to her, what? No, he did not say that to her. Get out of here. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay, just stop it. Cap says, Spectacular Spider-Man J, Justice League Unlimited, STAS, and EMH are probably my superhero cartoon Mount Rushmore. I'll give you that. Because it's hard to say because everybody grew up after during a certain time, so it we're hitting all age groups. Like there are people now who watch the show who grew up after X-Men and Spider-Man were off TV. They didn't have that Saturday morning cartoons spectacular like we did growing up. Young Justice is really good, but it always ending with a cliffhanger is disappointing. I enjoyed the Young Justice. I love Young Justice. That was really good too. That was another DC show that had great storytelling. Bart says I might have Batman Animated Series on hard drive somewhere. I got 12 terabytes of movies and cartoons.
Wow.
I suggest watching it. Hey Tizzle! This is Happy Friday, y'all.
She's in there hanging out with Bruno. I blocked him out of the room tonight. He was scratching at the door. He wanted to. I was like, I can't. We have a guest on tonight. That's only for a short time. I can't be looking at the floor constantly, seeing what he's doing, what he's getting into.
Yeah, that's. Greg says Cap lives. Always love Young Justice. It's such good use of them. Yeah. Bone Form says the music was excellent. Definitely it was. Grace says you can watch Justice League, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Samurai Jack, Powerpuff. You can watch Batman the Animated Series. Sharon says it's called Joker's Favorite. Yes, that was the episode. Joker's Favorite. That was a good one. That was a good episode to watch. Pokey says I just found my old Joker truck Hot Wheels from '89. Woo. Yes, he did. It was a real line in season 5. My phone with you, Robert. Cat says, "Oh, Brave Bowl is so much fun." Like I said, I tried it. I just couldn't do it. It just wasn't for me. Like I'm on the majority group that like the Batman. Like I did not like it at first, but I did watch it and I was like, all right, this is pretty fun. I do like this. Actually, I think, yeah, the Batmobile's up there, like right behind. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's up there with the other Batmobile. Well, the other 2 Batmobiles and the Mach 5.
They're multiplying.
Pokey 7 says, I'm sorry, what you say, Tim?
So the Batmobiles are multiplying.
So I only have, do I have 3 or 4? I think I have more than that because I had the old ones from like Kenner as well too. Mm-hmm. Pokey says, I really like the live action Titan show that was on HBO. Yeah, I did. I enjoyed that as well. wasn't too bad. Greg says I need to finish it. It's still in the Red Hood season. I'm with you, Greg. I haven't finished it either. I haven't finished Doom Patrol either. I got to season 2, and I didn't watch season 3 yet. Greg says Robert named the episode and time stamp for Dante. It's your homework for next show. Don says Batman looked cool in the Batman, but I couldn't get with some of the villain designs. It was, yeah, the villain designs were kind of tough. Like Joker looking like kind of Rastafarian. Yeah, I can see that. And Cap says the Batman is the Batman cartoon of my childhood. It's still the best that Grayson has been represented. It was fine in Batman the animated series. I'm not gonna say he was bad. It was fine there. All right, folks. Man, what a night!
Yeah, a lot of fun for sure. That was awesome, man. That was really cool to have them on, and it's good talking about a good quality show right there.
Yeah, Roy, if you get to watch this later on, if you're still listening, thank you. You made my night. Like this, I can truly say, like, I had the honor of having X-Men from my past childhood to the new one. Avengers are my heroes from years ago. Well, not even that many years. It doesn't feel like years ago, but it wasn't that long ago. It
goes quick.
Yeah. But I've had people on, guest on from those shows that we all grew up and loved and enjoyed. And it was fun. It was a good time. It just like, I'm really thinking if I can make it happen, we get the Leewards, get Larry, we get Bo, we get Roy. And if Roy can grab Thomas and can grab Sean Schimmel, I'm done. That's the last episode of Infinity Quit you'll ever see. You'll never have another episode. Like, how else would I be able to top that?
Exactly.
There'd be no other way to top that. Bruce, if I could get Bruce Timm on, that I'm done.
Yep.
Like all those names, if I said like all those names, like they came on, I'm done. Even if Mark Campbell said, "Yeah, I'll be on there." I would need somebody to help talk for me because I'd be too like the nerves and jitters would just take over. I'd be like, yeah. They be like my Luther. If you ever seen Key and Peele, they be my Luther for me. They're like, so what he's shaking his head for? He's like, so can you tell us more about Star Wars? You working with George Lucas? Great. So we just need to make sure that show never happens. That episode never happens. What if Uncle Toddy Mac comes on? Well, I'll still continue doing the show. Yeah, Todd just be like I would have some hard hitting questions. There ain't no softball questions with Todd. I'm just hitting the hard questions with Todd. Yeah, you're right, Cap. I would need to be carted off. If Mark Hamill came on, they'd be like, I had the EMTs on call. Like, yeah, just in case I fall out, I need y'all just resuscitate me back up. They probably would be resuscitating me. You don't get like clear. He's back. All right, folks. He's good. What happened? You passed out again. Oh shoot! For the 6th time again in this episode. Justin says Mark Hamill would come on drinking blue milk. Oh Lord. Yo, there's just questions I would ask Mark Hamill, like working on Batman, working on He-Man. And I probably would have to ask this question because I feel like it does happen a lot. And I would ask him if he feels like it happens a lot. when he voices somebody, like, does he feel like it's like the Joker voice? Because when you listen to Skeletor and if you listen to Joker, they kind of match up.
They do get pretty close. Yeah, it's kind of just doing the
Yeah.
same voice, basically. Hey, Dante, I got to
Exactly.
bounce. I got to get going. I'll see you later.
All right, though. All right,
Yeah,
see
bye,
ya.
guys. Bye, everybody. Have a nice weekend.
But yeah, those are the kind of questions I want to ask. Like, those are the kind of things I would want to know. Like, I have to know. Let's see. Dom says Mark Hamill would need you and salary to appear. He says I'd be like, you remember Star Wars? That was pretty cool. Our Bart says Hamill on the Flash was kind of Jokerish. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. And Cap says Hamill has varying levels of Joker. He does. Like, if you listen to Skeletor, kind of like on that level, it sounds like it almost kind of like a reminiscent like of Joker itself. And I don't know if it's just like if it's just a habit and kind of like it's hard to break out of it, which would make sense. Or does he like? Is it kind of like, I'm just doing this, like that's the kind of voice I'm getting, like they were asking for. Don says Hamill basically did two voices his whole career. Grace just about had to go. Bruno started attacking Galactus. Oh man. All right, folks. I'm gonna wrap it up, but thank you all for coming. I think again, I have to thank Roy Burdine for joining us. I appreciate it. It was amazing. Again, I just having somebody on from a show that I really enjoy seeing and watching in my adult times, I might as well say, was great. Let's see. Bart says I'm saying 1990s Flash, and Just Justin says a Mark Hamill cameo in the new Joker movie would be great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you, Ratface. I appreciate that. Thank you. So if you didn't catch last Sunday's show, we talked with Greg Super Action stuff. IE Creators. I forgot the name of this episode. Hopefully next week I'll be able to do Let's Build with Gunpla. Trying to think of which gun I want to build. I might just do a small one. Nothing like super sophisticated. I do have. Let me see. So I may do this one here, the Zaku 2 Red Comet version. So I didn't say Monday, Bart. I said next week. Yeah, I want to start building some of these kits because they're starting to pile up and it's getting really ridiculous over here. I'm thinking about Infinity Mirrors. Yes, definitely Infinity Mirrors, Dom. Thank you, Rafael. Rafael says everyone have a great weekend, everybody. Bart says I've done that kit. Dante, it's nice. I hope so. Like I should start building them because like it's becoming like I got like 10 to 11 kits to build, so this is ridiculous. So I gotta start building them. Thank you, Forfeit says. Forfeit says good night, everybody. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy. Hope y'all have a great upcoming week. And remember, we'll be back next Friday, same IE time, same IE YouTube channel. So I will see you all then. Enjoy.